After a stunning attack from Hamas on Israeli citizens and military personnel, Israel has not just declared a war on Gaza. This morning, they've declared a siege of the entire region and territory. So far, the death toll is 500 in Gaza, although counting. And perhaps most shockingly in this case, 800 Israelis, including a number of American citizens who had dual Israeli and American citizenship. How did this all start? So it started when about 100 gunmen from Hamas and militants actually broke through the barrier and the separation between Gaza and Israel and attacked multiple locations. One of those locations was a music festival where young Israelis were raving basically, and they were attacked. I believe the death toll is around 200 from that. Just some eyewitnesses were telling Israeli media that attackers on motorcycles, particularly at the music festival, began firing at attendees. Many of those attendees are in fact still missing. We have footage of folks running away, or we don't have footage of folks running away, but there is this incredible footage from the aftermath of that attack. There are no bodies, but you see the cars. So I just want to go to this footage right here. So this is, you see, is just sort of a camera going through the site of the attack of the music festival. Cars have been clearly hit with rockets. They have been, people clearly tried to leave. These were folks who were gunned down by Hamas militants over the weekend. This was Saturday morning. Obviously, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has vowed unprecedented retaliation, and that retaliation has begun. As we have seen before in Gaza, Israel has waged an all-out war. Here is just a little bit of that footage. One of these is a building that has been completely leveled. Take a look. So right, I mean, this could be from one of the many wars that Israel has waged on Gaza, but it's important to understand that that they say they are targeting Hamas outlets, but not just military outposts, specifically where Hamas family members are. And so women and children have absolutely been killed in this latest assault, as Israeli women and children were killed when Hamas attacked over the weekend. Here's a little bit more footage from what's going on the ground right now in Gaza. So there you see it looks like a fire engine, and there's a young boy there running to get out of the way. So Israel has sent text messages to the people of Gaza saying you need to leave. The problem is, if you know anything about Gaza, it is impossible to leave. There are only two entries and exits. One of them has the checkpoint of Erez was attacked by Israel. After it appears that that's where the militants from Hamas came through, so that has been completely destroyed. And then the other with Syria takes weeks and weeks and weeks to get permission to actually leave. So while the government of Israel is telling Gazans to leave, they have nowhere to go. It seems like about 123,000 Palestinians have been displaced. A little bit more on what's going on the Gaza side and in retaliation here. A medical aid group, Médecins Sans Frontières, I don't speak French, but again, Medics Without Borders, said a nurse and an ambulance driver were killed in Israeli strikes onto hospitals in Gaza. This is sort of commonplace when Israel attacks Gazans. They often will target ambulances, then they target hospitals as well. A doctor spoke out. This is Kamis Alessi, who is a neurorehabilitation and pain medicine consultant in Gaza City, told the BBC, everywhere you go in Gaza, you see funerals, you see death. He says, it's like you're watching a movie about the end of life on this earth. So some grim news to kick off this Monday, but Senator, I wanted to, before we get into what the United States has said and what politicians over here are saying, just your reactions and thoughts on this.
Yeah, Francesca, completely harrowing. I mean, it's hard to see that level of death on, both on the Israeli side and then also on the Palestinian side, and not to have a very heavy heart, a heavy mind, and a heavy soul. This is serious, and these kinds of occurrences in the Middle East, they're not new. I mean, that entire area is always gripped in some type of, if it's not just all out war, but just some kind of assault time and time again. I was reading what different world leaders have been saying about this, Francesca, and I think Jeremy Corbyn comes the closest to, pretty much how I feel about it. And he he said the unfolding events in Israel and Palestine are deeply alarming. We need an immediate ceasefire and urgent de-escalation. And we need a route out of this tragic cycle of violence. Ending the occupation is the only means of achieving a just and lasting peace. And I just want to put a finer point on that lasting peace and what is the true route out of this, because these kinds of actions, although again, not called all out war, as Israel has declared war, Hamas attacked them, I get it. But what after this? What comes after this? Is it going to continue to be skirmish after skirmish? I mean, can you imagine living in that region and always being uncertain about your life? Can you imagine being in the Gaza Strip? And as you laid out, Francesca, virtually nowhere out. Mehdi Hassan, who's also a journalist, a reporter, when he put out that the prime minister told Gazans, get out and get out now. Basically, I'm, paraphrasing, and Mehdi laid it out. It's like, how? I mean, what, you want them to swim for it? And that is absolutely legitimate. So as we deal with this war and the ripple effect that it's going to have on everyone, what is the world going to do, starting with the United States of America, to broker a lasting peace, to have justice and security for both peoples? That's the only way.
And it's incredible. I completely agree with you. And yet saying something as simple as that, as wanting a lasting peace, will get you in trouble now, because apparently we're only supposed to be talking about more bloodshed and retribution and things like that. I do want to mention that the biggest part about this, going back a little bit, producers, sorry, I skipped this part. But what's important to know is this is one of the biggest attacks on Israelis in decades, since the end of the Second Intifada 20 years ago. So that's why it's making headlines in a new way. And I would just ask, this is just me as my opinion, but if you are just tuning into this and the ways that Israel often will attack Gaza, the question I want to ask you is, do you know about the previous wars that Israel has launched on Gaza? And we can throw up this graphic here in terms of the death tolls. This is from the United Nations Office for Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs, looking at wars on Gaza that Israel has waged throughout 2008 and 2009. Remember when Barack Obama was just coming into office, right? You got Bono up on stage doing his inauguration, talking about Palestinian rights. Remember that moment? 2012, 2014, and these are thousands of people who died. 2021 was the last war. Who knows how many lives? And you see Palestinian deaths, 6,407, Israeli deaths, 308. All loss of life is reprehensible and heinous. But it is important to understand that there has been a massive discrepancy between these two sides. And one side is in fact an organized military and the other side is not. So that's what's really causing the headlines is, wow, to kill that many Israeli civilians, and yes, in such an awful manner. And yet we have the retaliation, which no doubt will be as bloody, if not however many times as much. I really think that Remy Kanazi, who's actually a comedian, has been an excellent voice when it comes to Palestinian human rights and this issue in general, explaining to us how it isn't really a two sides issue. He tweeted earlier, he says, there's no both sides argument. Only Palestinians live under military occupation. Only Palestinians have homes stolen for illegal Israeli settlements. Only Palestinians are being dispossessed. Only Palestinians face apartheid laws. All of this is being done by one side, Israel. Again, this is to put this in context, right? This is to understand that Gaza specifically is like an open air prison. It is actually one of the, if not the densest place on earth when it comes to people. So what happens when you bomb the densest place on earth? You're going to kill civilians. The Israeli military knows that they're going to kill civilians, and so that is what it is. But and it's awful.
For more political news, breakdowns, interviews, stories of activism, and me trying my hardest to care about the occasional big celebrity news story, subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/The Damage Report. And you can ring the bell wherever it is so you don't miss anything.